New World's future is very bright, and some of it is coming sooner than you might think. So let's jump into what I want to talk about today and show you what we've got. We started getting seasons earlier this year around the start of April, and we were told that every 3 months we would get some kind of content, be it like a side story and major changes, rather than just doing ad hoc patches, which what they were sort of doing with no sort of consistency. Some of the bigger updates might have been 1, 2 or 3 months apart with no consistency, so they said, okay, let's do this seasonal model. And it's normally every 3 months, as I mentioned. However, not this season. The expansion has now been out for just over a week, and if you look here, the season pass ends in 60 days. It's very, very much worth noting that that has not been wrong since the seasons began. Season 2 was the exact date that it said it would be, and Season 3 was the date that it also said it would be. So there's no reason to think that this date is incorrect. And what date is that? It's around about 2 months from now, about the 12th of December. Might be the 13th, not really sure. That means we have a shorter season of about 2 months and a week. So Season 4 has been scheduled to come well before most people would have expected. We would have expected it to be January, but no, it actually looks like they're going to get this ahead of Christmas and be sort of early December. And what's more, we pretty much know what content is coming in it because they told us in a roadmap in February. Now obviously the roadmap's not going to include everything, but let's have a look at it as well. Now we can ignore pretty much everything to this side of the roadmap because that's already happened and already been. Instead, I want to turn your gaze to Season 4. Now some of it we know what it means, but some of it we're not 100% sure. Let's quickly go through. There will be a seasonal story. That's something they do pretty much every season apart from the expansion, because the expansion has a new MSQ. Main story quest, by the way. The seasonal trial with mutators is very interesting. The last seasonal trial we had was the hatchery. Obviously that didn't have mutators or anything like that. Mutators are going to be the things that are like the dungeons and sort of suggest a difficulty level. Now will it be a proper sort of raid trial? We're not 100% sure. The fact that they said seasonal trial sort of suggests it's going to be temporary, maybe like a 10-man. Maybe it will stay around for a while like the hatchery has, but I mean there's no guarantee. Now another big one here is actually the seasonal trinket. I'm pretty confident that this is going to work very similar to Destiny 2. I think visually it might look something like this. Ignore the sides, I just sort of mean like this grid. This I think is what Destiny 2 looks like, but when you actually tick them off, what you'll get is a kind of ability. So you can think of this being like the artifact quests. Once you unlock them, you will have an ability, a boost, something that benefits your character. However, it's probably only going to last for the season and then it'll go away. You can maybe equate this to borrowed power, but we'll have to wait and see how it's delivered. But I think the seasonal trinket is very interesting. Now the MSQ update, that does not mean like we're getting a new MSQ story beyond level 65. That's very much probably just going to be the update from 55 to 60. So after you do Eden Grove and Great Cleave, there's probably going to be like a little bit extra. I'm guessing in Shattered Mountain, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure. A new expedition, we're not 100% confirmed what that is. My money is actually on the Empyrean Forge and probably the ice version of that. A new heart rune, I have no idea what that is. They're going to sort of simmer down with heart runes, I think, because they said as much. But at this point they were still probably working on this, so you can still expect it. Now seasonal and world events, that could very simply just mean the winter festival thing. I'm not going to get my hopes over that, like I don't know what it's going to be beyond that, so let's just hope there's a few little improvements to the winter festival and call that one that. And then we get to the really juicy stuff. We get cross-world arenas and expeditions. It has been confirmed that at some point we are going to be getting automatic group finders when it comes to expeditions. You're going to press the button and it's going to just automatically queue you up. My guess is that it's going to come along with that because it just makes sense. They tend to want to like combine features to make it all like, oh, look how good it is. So my guess is that the automatic group finder is also going to come with this. I would not be surprised if we get some kind of like ranking thing with arena as well. Not confirmed, but I do think we're going to hear a little bit more about matchmaking very soon. Now the season pass, we obviously know what that is. I suspect they'll be a bit more adventurous with it next time. This season pass is sort of not that bad really. Doesn't give you too much as an advantage. I actually like it like this. I think they'll push the boat a little bit more out with the second one, so we'll see. When I say the second one, I mean the second one after the expansion, of course. And then the one that I missed out, we simply have no idea what the seasonal territory control system is. Is it linked to influence races? I sort of doubt it. It's probably the territory control in the game, right? Makes sense. But in what way can that be seasonal? By the way, a lot of people ask me how you get the colours in the filters. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can just sort of see me. There's a little button there for faction influence. not really relevant to this video, I just wanted to show you. My point here is that if their plan is simply to just make it so that all the territories become unoccupied after 3 months, that would be incredibly pointless. There needs to be something more to it that really actually starts shaking it up, and I have no idea what they are planning. I do think the territory control system is going to be a contentious issue. Now that the game's in a much better spot than it ever was, I think a lot of eyes are going to be starting to be drawn to this system that a lot of players are just locked out of. There's war logging alts and all this kind of stuff. People are going to start focusing on it, and we don't really know what they mean by what they put on the roadmap. So it's an interesting little bit on the roadmap. It doesn't actually tell us anything, really. Very exciting, very interesting, but we gotta wait and see. Now, one thing that I think might be coming that they've not really spoke about, but I'm just sort of feeling it at the minute, is I do think we're going to start seeing maybe like controller support, and it might start in Season 4. There's reason to think that that is being worked on, because the team that was doing gear sets, I believe, was going to move on to like controller support after they'd done with the gear sets, and that sort of happened now, and that's been done. So maybe it will happen here, if not here, later on. Just waving around a paintbrush, by the way, because this is what I use on stream to point. Now, obviously that's Season 4, and they did tell us about this many months ago, like now in February. There will be stuff that's not on there that they're going to deliver us, and there might be some tweaks to this just simply because it's been a while. I believe we can expect a roadmap probably within the next 2 months. They may wait until after Season 4. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think a roadmap would have made sense just before the launch of the expansion, but they've not done it. We can expect it sometime. I believe Scott in one of the videos said that firstly we're going to talk about Season 2, then the expansion, and then the roadmap. So let's see if that's what we actually get. It could be this month, it could be next month, it could be December. I don't think we'll hit January without it, but we might do. However, as per usual, I have made my own. Now, I want to point out quite clearly that I made this and this is fake, and some of this is just tongue-in-cheek, right? It's just a joke from the stream. Don't get too hung up on it. Like, Season 8 is quite clearly just a joke. It's a joke, leave me alone, okay? However, let me talk about why I've put some of these things on here and when I've put them on here. If I'm honest, Season 5 is sort of the boring one. There'll probably be a new expedition. Season Pass is pretty much guaranteed. I mean, I could put on Seasonal Story, but why the hell bother? The Seasonal Trinket will get a refresh because that's something they're going to do every season. That's the whole point of that. I put new artifacts here. I actually think there'll be new artifacts in Season 4, like in December, but I just put it here to remind me to talk about it because I would have forgot about it otherwise, and now that I spoke about it, they'll be doing new artifacts quite consistently, I think, because it's very low effort in a way, but actually quite a bit of content. Sure, they've got to come up with the quests, and sure, they've got to decide where they're dropping, but people will farm these, and all they really need to make is one new distinct perk. So I think we'll see a couple of these every season. And then I've written vertical progression. I don't know if this is coming. The fact that they've made BIS and getting good gear a lot easier, I think might lead us to something like vertical progression. Maybe we'll go per gear score increase when we get like a raid. However, the more I think about it, the less sure I'm getting about that. I really, like, I could flip a coin and I have no idea. Do you know what I mean? It could go one way or the other. We'll sort of find out soon. I wouldn't want to see vertical progression every 3 months. I think that'd be chaos. And actually, when you look at the great difficulty of crafting the, like, 3 perk pure best in slot, I'm getting less confident about that. I think they might not do it, but if they're going to give us proper raids, and when I say a proper raid, by the way, which I do think will come, Scott said that 2024 was actually more content filled than probably 2023, so I do think real raids will come. What I mean by a real raid is a raid that has multiple bosses and probably like trash mobs, and you're doing it in 10, 15, 20, something like that. If you're going to give us that content, you also need to give us some kind of reward that makes sense. That's why I sort of thought vertical progression would make sense, but I have no idea. I'm pretty sure they're going to call the real raids probably Elite Expeditions. Now, some of this stuff I'm putting on here, and I've no idea when they might come. We do know that character customization is at some point planned. We do know that a name change is at some point planned. Ranked Arena, I've put it here, but it's very possible that it could literally just come in Season 4. Like, I don't actually know. Now, the big one that I've sort of put here is wild speculation, but I'm sort of getting a little bit of a sniff about this one, so hashtag believe. Copium Legends in the chat is what I would say on Twitch, and no cope jabronis, get wrecked. Well, we'll see if it actually happens. I do think console might be something that they aim towards. I've always found it a little bit weird. New World seems like it would be a very good game for console, just because of the way it controls, but they've never really seemed inclined to do so. Now, one thing that makes me think it will do, Katie once said about Asian servers or servers in the Asia region, and she said maybe at some point. Could that point be when we actually get console? Now, something about Amazon sort of suggests I think they'd be more likely to align with Xbox rather than PlayStation. If it's going to come to either, I would guess that, but it might simply just come to both. And then if we do end up with console, there's sort of like big questions there. Like, are we going to get crossplay? For me, crossplay wouldn't make sense because I really feel like PC gamers would have a massive advantage. But then are they going to do something like, it's not auto aim assist, that's the phrase. And if they do that, then PC gamers might get really annoyed. There's a whole dynamic there that we're not going to talk about. I mean, console might not even happen, you know. So let's talk about that if that bridge actually comes to be crossed. For now, we'll leave it. And then in Season 7, which again, just keep in mind that this is complete, pure fake, not real. I've put a couple of different things, some that they've spoke about. They did speak about a company rework and Discord at some point. If they do that, then company housing might make sense. I put the new weapon being like the lightning staff. It could be anything. It could be crossbows. And you know what? I'm sort of coming around to crossbows. No spoilers, but the end of the MSQ in the expansion, crossbows would make a lot of sense for some kind of player, if you catch my drift. But what I want to say is that daggers are pretty much confirmed not to be the next weapon. In Discord, I can't remember the dev that said it, they basically said daggers aren't coming next. Boom. I sort of worry that daggers would absolutely be filled with, you know, just pure rat assassin gameplay that might be harmful for the game, but let's worry about that, you know, at some point in the future. And then the rest of them, obviously we have heard about DX12 and DLSS and stuff like that. It'd be nice if that happens like sooner rather than later because the performance is always a bit of a questionable issue in New World. I put a new Outpost Rush or PvP mode. I have no words for this one, but I am simply baffled that this has not happened after 2 years. The fact that we're still playing Outpost Rush day in, day out, I don't understand it. It's actually, I think, one of the more popular game modes in the game, and I don't understand why they wouldn't be like, well, let's make those players happy. Now, maybe we're all just playing it and they're just like, hey, look, the players who are playing it are happy, let's not bother. But that's the wrong decision. This should have happened probably a year ago. It's already 2 years too late. It needs to happen sooner rather than later. I don't care, even if it's just like you rotate it 1 week at a time or 2 weeks at a time like the arena. Just give us something there, please. Please make it soon. The level increase, by the way, there's a couple of these that I'm sort of putting together. I really should like maybe reorganize this list. The new zone level increase and paid expansion and sailing and swimming and that kind of thing. If that's coming, then I think it would come in an expansion. We do know that some big content will come around about fall next year because Scott said we're planning big content every year. And I'm sort of assuming that we're not going to get something like Brimstone that's going to be free. I think they'll package it as an expansion because it just generates more interest, and you know what? It generates more revenue. What is in that expansion? I think we did get a little bit of a sneak with the end of the MSQ, and I sort of predicted that before I played the MSQ, and I don't necessarily think sailing and swimming makes sense in it. Swimming probably just for the memes, but sailing I'm beginning to think makes absolutely no sense. The reason I put sailing is because the flail was sort of to satisfy people who wanted paladin-esque builds, and sailing I think would satisfy people who want that sort of like exploring, well, sailing experience. So it sort of made sense, but yeah, I'm sort of losing my appetite for that one, my ardor. And then Season 8, I've literally just put dead game, joke, team move to Lord of the Rings, New World free to play. Those I think are like, I mean, let me get it clear, those are complete jokes. And actually when you look at the success of the expansion, which a week after the expansion has launched, the main game is sitting at number 8 in the top sellers. The reason the main game's probably this high, by the way, is I think all the season passes and the transactions like that go against the game itself, and actually the expansion itself is still in position number 27. So the core game is all the like season passes and stuff like that, and the expansion itself is doing number 27. All in all, pretty decent. So I don't really think there is much risk at this point of the game sort of being, I don't know, shipped off to some kind of third party like that Virtuoso Games rumor that we heard. I do think Virtuoso Games are probably going to help with the expansion. I think that's sort of like common business practice, but I don't think full sort of third partying or sunsetting is anytime soon, especially if the game continues to do well and is actually vaguely successful. I don't really see that in the future of New World. And I joke about the team getting moved to Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's just a community joke, right? We know they're making a Lord of the Rings MMO. They're probably going to hire people for that, and they're going to make sure that the games are actually properly resourced, I believe. So I don't truly believe it, but I guess if everything tanked, like if the expansion expansion tanks and the next thing, if they did console and it tanked, then you never know, that could happen, right? I just doubt it. But if it does, then I'll be out here shilling for a different game. Lord of the Rings will be the true savior of the MMO genre. And if that ain't it, then I could always jump ship to Ashes of Creation. But I'm being stupid. New World, the expansion, I'm really enjoying. I think the game is in its best spot ever, and I'm really excited about the future of the game. I do believe that the year 2024 will be very much content filled. If we can get, and I've said this a few times, if we can get ranked arena, if we can get proper raids with multiple bosses, and then at some point we get like a PvP mode, a little bit like Outpost Rush, I think we'll be in a great spot. There's other things that I would like, by the way, like solo dungeons, stuff like that. I would like more content for solo PvEs. I think that would be really good. People say, you're biased one way or the other. I'm a PvXer, I like doing everything. But if we can get those things, man, New World could be really, really pog. I don't know why I said pog there. It could just be really good, okay? I think the future is bright and it's coming sooner than you think. Big shout out to my Patreons. I have actually updated this list. Somebody in the comments in one of my videos was like, he doesn't care about you. And I was like, I really don't want that to seem the case. So I've actually gone and updated it. Big shout out to you guys. I really appreciate you. You make this a lot easier to do as my full-time job. So very much appreciate you guys. And for everybody else, if you want to come follow me over on Twitch, I stream 6 days like a week. And that's where we do all the copium roadmaps, all that kind of stuff. Don't be a jabroni, be a coped up legend and join today or another day. It's okay. What you should definitely do though is have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.